Welcome to another episode of Fabulous Lenormand Beyond the Surface. It's episode 3, yeah. And today we are dealing with the ship and with the house. And I want to say that these episodes and the topics that are dealt with in this episode, which are based on the book, by now, are of course it's delving into the symbolism that is used in the Lenormand or the Lenormand, but I will stick with Lenormand because being someone who is already some kind of bilingual, trying to now incorporate also France, I get totally confused. Yeah, the symbolism that is used in the Lenormand is to some degree kind of universal. Of course, I mentioned it in the last video and the last episode and so on. That's in the Lenormand, it's all about the ship. But there are some meanings, and we are going into the symbolism of the meanings, if that makes sense. It's not so much about the history of Lenormand itself. This kind of history I touched on the introduction video. And here we are dealing with each of the cards, and we are delving deep into the meanings of each of the symbol that is used in the Lenormand, and what the meanings, the universal meanings of each of these pictures mean in mythology and religion, etc. So let's start. Yeah, one of my favorite pictures here in this book, one by Caspar David Friedrich, on the sailor, you could say, or on the sailboat. And I really love his pictures. They are really deep, and you get this sense of yearning that is also part of this card, because the ship, which is a neutral card, is all about journey, about the great distance, also the lust for adventure, transition. It's also about some sense of longing and nostalgia, or development. So these meanings must have come from somewhere. So we are trying to find their origins, so to speak. So the ship in general, the ship in mythology, besides its very physical symbolism in terms of commerce and exploration, has of course a metaphorical meaning. It was seen in various cultures as the carrier of the soul, the kind of soul ship, a symbol of one's journey into life and also out of life. And it was also seen in the Egyptian mythology, that the ancient sun god Ra sailed on his solar bark over the sky, and at night he was traveling with his bark through the underworld. So this is also quite this is something which you will also find to some degree in other mythology, even in more kind of modern mythology which is based which is handled within in books, so or in novels. So to come back to the mythology of the ship, or mythology, the ship in mythology, the Celts, for instance, believed that you were able to, with certain boats, were able to leave the shores of this physical world and sail to the shores to the other world, or of the other world. So this is something which you all also, sorry, I really, which you will find in certain novels, like The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. And you also find it, this kind of travel from this world into the other world, you also find it within The Lord of the Rings. If you remember, in the end of the film or the book, of course, maybe some of you might only know the film, but maybe also a lot of you read the book. At the end, Frodo makes a journey. The journey, he leaves this world and travels to another world, and of course with a ship. And this is the last ship that is parting from the shores of Middle-earth. So a little bit of Middle-earth nerdery here. This ship is passing, it's leaving the shores of this world and sails into another world, in a world that we cannot grasp. So this is the kind of where he sees for the first time his new home, so to speak, which is an island, which is before the Undying Lands. This is some kind of side note ramble, or a nerdery ramble here. But I really like this sense of this kind of you're on a ship and you see your goal in front of you. So this is quite interesting. And also, this is what I meant by this, that the ship is also used in more modern mythology. It is also used by Tolkien quite a lot. So this kind of little book here. In Tolkien's world, there are a lot of ships, and there is also a ship that is traveling through the sky with the light of a star on board. So it's the ship by Eärendil, and Eärendil is the father of Elrond. So and he carries one of the Silmarils, which is basically gave the Silmarillion its name. He carries one of those jewels with him, and this jewel is glowing in the dark and gives hope to all people who watch the sky. And it's also part of the little bottle that Galadriel gives to Frodo, where the light of Eärendil, so the light of the Silmaril, is captured. So this is quite a side note, but nonetheless, ships within Tolkien, you can also see here. It's one of my favorite artists, Tolkien artists. It's Ted Nesmith, and I so love his artwork, and I really will one day get my hands on a illustrated version of the Silmarillion, because look at that. This is so gorgeous. And here you can see this with a ship, but which is quite interesting in terms of traveling from one world to another world, is the sense of how to get there. You can maybe guess or think, okay, in this case, Frodo is just traveling to another island, but the kind of way he travels, this kind of way to the Undying Lands, from the islands or the shores of Middle-earth into the Undying Lands, is has some kind of otherworldly feeling to me. This journey. So, like I said, ships also in modern mythology plays an important role. Are playing an important role, and I really love the idea to go beyond the mists, like in the Mists of Avalon, and see something new, some kind of a spiritual goal, so to speak. And it's also a nice metaphor for going over from this life into another world. So I really like that. So for all of you who want to know what this is an illustrated encyclopedia by David Day. Yeah, but this is something I find also really comforting, the thing that the boat was also was pictured as the home of the soul, and that this home of the soul, this ship, this is the only home that we, after all, will keep, maybe, perhaps. So the true home we have. So this is really a nice, nice image that I really like to move in my head. So much for the kind of spiritual part. Yeah, the ship was also seen as a symbol of the feminine. If you remember old sail ships like this one, that they mostly had figureheads on top of or in front of the ship. And mostly, as you can see here, mostly there were women. So, and also ships were kind of an embodiment of the feminine. And I think it's quite an interesting or gorgeous balance act that is embodied here in this kind of symbolism, because for instance, the British Navy was all men back in those days. So this was kind of a balance, kind of a balancing thing between the masculine and the feminine inside this kind of the time where sail ships crossed the ocean. So I really like this idea. As you can see, I was quite interested in Patrick O'Brien's books, and have quite some of them, and enjoyed reading them. Yeah, but because it's a symbol of journey. The ship, which is a symbol of journey, it's also about this finding something which makes us complete, finding the goal, finding something new. Also, the explorers back in those days searched for more meaning, searched for some kind of completion of their maybe worldview, or maybe more to this worldview, to make a new picture of their perception of the world. So it was always about something which was out there. So this is really it's also about in terms of symbolism of the ship. It's also, and the journey, for instance, it's also about opening the doors to our forgotten potential to some degree. So maybe all know the proverb by Confucius, which is basically going like, the journey is the destination, or the way is the goal. Der Weg ist das Ziel. And sometimes this way can take a long time, especially when you think back in those days. So going from these shores to, I don't know, India, this took a long time, and there were a lot of obstacles during this travel, or these travels. Pirates, or sickness, or terrible storms also. But it's always, when you keep the goal in mind and try to go through all of these obstacles, the treasure that's awaiting you, or that's waiting for you, is so much sweeter. And this made me think about why is that sometimes? Why do we always think that when we achieve something through hard labor, it's more worth the price? So this is quite an interesting thing. But it's also something which is nowadays, seen everywhere in sports, or maybe, for instance, mountain climbers also, who challenged the Mount Everest or something like that, or the kind of extreme sports that we see. It's all about the challenge. It's it's all about that. So something like this is also playing into this kind of journey aspect. The journey outwards, of course, also the journey inwards. And this is also something, the spiritual aspect, of course, also is something which Chloe McCracken also touches on in her Celtic Lenormand book. So this kind of travel inside, kind of these astral travels, to getting to know more about yourself and learn more about your hidden treasure island, so to speak, and exploring the unknown. So this is the spiritual aspect is also very, I think, also very important in this card. And I really like to work with this kind of aspect also, of course, also with the mundane, but these spiritual meanings that are more modern approaches to the Lenormand, I really like and want to explore more. Yeah. Touching on numerology, the 3 is quite a powerful number in various religions and myths. So it's about the magic of 3. For instance, in Hinduism, we have Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver or protector, and Shiva, the destroyer. And we also have, of course, in Christianity, we have the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But we also have, in terms of Norse mythology, and also in the Germanic tradition, we also have the 3 Norns. So the 3 Norns are basically 3 fate goddesses, basically. And it is for past, it is, when I remember correctly, it's Ord or Erd. We have Verdandi for the present moment. It's called for the future. So as you can see here also quite nicely, it's also a representation of, 3 is also the representation of the threefold goddess. So Mother, Maiden, and Crone. Also the color symbolism is right for this depiction. But we also have in fairy tales, we also find in fairy tales quite often the magic of the number 3. For instance, 3 wishes. You always have 3 wishes in fairy tales, but you sometimes also have 3 tasks, and you do these tasks, or the figures, princesses, and so on and so forth. They do these tasks in the hope for something better, for they trust in the good account, and sometimes they even get help. As for instance, I don't know how you pronounce it in English, the German Brother Grimm fairy tale Rumpelstilzchen. And the end of the story, Rumpelstilzchen gets some kind of he helps in some kind of unwanted way, or unknown and unwanted way, the future queen, she is queen in the fairy tale, and he helps her by telling her his name, I guess, to one of the servants. One of the servants is coming across the wood where Rumpelstilzchen is living, and gets his name from his lips. So sometimes we have unexpected help. But in terms of the 3, it's also about the 3 is about broadening our horizon. It equals growth. So it comes from the initiative of the 1 and the fertility of the 2. So 3 is it's all about lust for adventure, get up and go. So it's about development, basically. As for in tarot, you can find certain aspects of the ship within various tarot cards. For instance, this yearning for new, for something new, you can find within the 3 of Wands. This kind of forward movement off to new horizons, this readiness to take risks within the Chariot. This longing for new experiences, this kind of wanting new experiences and searching for a sense of life you can find within the world. And of course, also within the Empress card, you find growth, you find inspiration, and of course also the feminine aspects I told you of before in the about the ship itself. So all of those aspects you can also find within those it touches on those aspects in those tarot cards. Yeah, now after a long travel, we're coming home. We're coming home to the house, and I simply had to add this gorgeous picture here, which is a reproduction of a postcard, which shows a house in the village I grew up in, which is a village which is quite near here, Hanover. And this village is called Peine. It's a town, basically. It's a town, but sometimes people make fun of it. But it's basically one of those gorgeous houses you can still find to some degree within my city. But not much is left there because some moderations, no, not moderation, some new stuff had been built and replaced old stuff. Sometimes there was not much care that was taken regarding these houses. Some were quite, you can see here, this is also quite nice here, this woman which is sitting there on this child, and she has another child there, and there you can see, try to fix it. I don't know what you can see here. A dog or something like that, which is digging or so, and this man is watching, and I'm not quite sure if this house is still standing. I'm not sure, but I'm planning one day making a video of my town, which is also called Owl City, because the symbol of my city is the owl, which is quite funny because it's also my spiritual animal or my totem animal. So this is quite interesting. But I simply had to, when I think of think coming home or something like that, I have some kind of yearning. This comes from the ship, I think, towards something like this kind of rustic feel, vintage feel, of course, also I really love. Of course, the house stands for home, obviously, and also for family, as you can see here in this gorgeous oil painting here by Edward Manet, which is called The Balcony. And it's not only for family, but it's also a place of structure, of security, of family, of stability, and also this kind of homey feeling you have here. This kind of coming home feeling that you have. It's basically, it's the place where our soul feels safe, and it's a place where we go to when we don't feel very well. And this is our kind of refuge to some degree. Maybe not for everyone, because this card also deals with family, and sometimes you have not the best of relationship with your family, and there's some kind of problematic associations with your home or so. But basically we have this kind of feeling, especially when we are building up our own homes, we are creating something, we are creating a new safe place for us. We all know this famous saying here, my home is my castle. And there's also a saying from Christian Morgenstern, and this is basically it's a bit they made a more modern term of this saying. His saying was basically, show me how you built and I tell you who you are. And nowadays you hear more, show me how you live and I tell you how who you are. And this is basically also something which what we can find within within our homes, that our homes are often a representation of our inner world, so to speak, of our inner rooms. Tells you something about a person's needs, or maybe also about your emotional world and your inner values. And when we want to break out of this structure here, we quite often want to change our kind of how we show ourselves to the world, and that also includes our home. So basically new color, or maybe also decluttering, so leaving stuff behind that you don't think it's useful anymore and that weighs you down. So the house, or the house of your inner self, is basically is a place of, it's an eternal building lot basically. So this especially this inner house of ourselves needs a lot of maintenance. So sometimes you tear down walls that you don't find useful anymore, and build new foundations. This, a nice term which Kathleen Bergman brings up here, is hygiene for the soul, and I really like that. Yeah, and it's all about that. We are making room for something new by changing our mindsets and throw out all of the stuff that we don't need anymore, all the doubts and unhelpful energies inside of us. So it takes patience, basically. This is basically like with shadow work. It takes patience. And I really liked another quote of her here in the book, where she's telling the soul moves always by foot, and I really like that. So basically honoring your inner speed, so to say. And this is really really helpful, I guess, especially helpful for me. To switch on the light. The lighting outside today is quite not so good, so a bit more light here is handy. In terms of a problematic family relationships, we have this topic is also reoccurring over and over again within fairy tales. You all know that, the bad stepmother, or the parents that abandoned Hansel and Gretel. So it's, or Cinderella. So there are a lot of things that come that plays into this one also, and this also of course depends on the cards that's surrounding the house card. So but it plays into that basically. What we also find also quite often within fairy tales is also the thing is, we go out and try to find a new home. Sometimes because we can't stand we feel some kind of trapped in our old lives and try to search for something new, which is quite interesting. And I really like this kind of way or movement in those two cards, actually, within the tarot, actually. This kind of, I want to leave everything behind, in this case maybe this one here, and move away to something new, to a new destination. So this is quite fitting in for this case. And this is also reoccurring in fairy tales, where you move basically, the house is basically the starting point, but most often it's also the place we turn to, or maybe we turn to something new, but it's maybe our new home we are coming close to. So it's the starting point and the finish in the same at the same time. So this is quite interesting. Of course, we always have this kind of topic within the castle theme within fairy tales, where maybe a young girl, yeah, like Snow White, she has to flee from the castle, from her evil stepmother, and in the end she's ending up in another castle. So just without an evil stepmother, but a loving husband. So it's a card maybe that is kind of made a sense to me to some degree as a full circle. You start from and you return to. It's always this kind of way. Okay, you can maybe also, like in the ship, still try to be always on in the move or in movement. So, but basically, we're all searching for a place we can call home. Basically, like that. When we search for house topics within tarot cards, we of course find, for instance, the Emperor for this kind of structure and clear principles. When it comes to the kind of maybe being a bit inflexible, but also searching for stillness, for calm, to maybe contemplate things over, we find the Four of Swords. When it comes to the feeling of being at home, of stability, and also this feeling which we call here in Germany Heimat, we come of course to the Ten of Pentacles. This kind of groundedness and sincerity we find within the Knight of Pentacles, and of course this kind of intimacy and trust, and yeah, of course also feeling at home. A bit plays into this one here also. We find in the Six of Cups. These are all the topics we can find within the house card, and which are playing into the house card, which I find really is a good way to get a better understanding for both systems, I guess, or for both meanings behind the sheer picture. So I hope you found it helpful. Just let me know if you're still interested in the astrology aspects of both cards, because the book itself doesn't always delve into this topic so deep. In fact, they are sometimes only listing certain attributes or certain correspondences which each of the cards has. So just let me know if you're still interested in that. Then I will provide you with the meanings for these two cards in the description box, and we'll try to integrate them in the next video. So we will see us very soon, either in the next Lenormand video or in the next fabulous Lenormand episode. So I hope you have a wonderful day or peaceful night. Bye!